If you would be so kind as to book for me a passage tonight on the Orient Express.
3 adaptations, 3 very different takes on Agatha Christie's most famous mystery, from the star-studded classic of 1974 to David Suchet's meticulous TV interpretation in 2010, and finally Kenneth Branagh's glossy, big-budget 2017 retelling. Each claims to be the definitive one. But which version actually works? Which one captures the essence of Christie's most daring twist? Well, one is superb, one is admirable, but flawed, and one is, let's be generous, a little misguided. Let's break them down.
Can you find me a cabin on the Orient Express?
My friend, I may not be good for much, but I sure as hell can get you a bed on my train in the dead of winter. 3 days free of care, concern, or crime. You will love it.
Here is a fascinating fact. Did you know that Murder on the Orient Express was inspired by real events? In 1932, Charles Lindbergh's infant son was kidnapped for ransom and never returned. The tragedy became front-page news across the globe. Christie followed the case closely, and when she later found herself snowbound on the Orient Express, she combined the 2 events into one ingenious plot. That's why the story feels so powerful. It is based on real life.
For 3 days, all these people, these total strangers, meet in a single train whose engine controls their destiny.
It made it to silver screen for the first time in 1974. Sidney Lumet's Murder on the Orient Express turned to be cinema at its most grand. Released at the peak of Christie revival in the 1970s, it became a cultural phenomenon, earning 6 Oscar nominations.
What a funny little man.
Obviously a frog.
Shot partly in the French Alps, this film is all about authenticity, with its lavish costumes, immaculate sets, and that snowbound luxury train atmosphere that feels both glamorous and claustrophobic. But what truly made it sparkle was the cast. A once-in-a-lifetime ensemble: Ingrid Bergman, who won an Oscar, Lauren Bacall, Sean Connery, John Gielgud, Vanessa Redgrave, Anthony Perkins. The list is endless. Watching it almost feels like a theater curtain call of Hollywood royalty. Albert Finney's Poirot is divisive.
Well, Mr. Poirot?
Poirot.
How's that?
Poirot.
Oh, Poirot, right.
Buried under heavy prosthetics and adopting a nasal Belgian accent, he is theatrical, eccentric, almost cartoonish. Many critics felt he played Poirot as a caricature, but no one could deny his intensity. The final reveal scene with Poirot pacing dramatically feels like a courtroom speech. Finney wrings every drop of drama out of it.
12. Suddenly, the number 12 began to ring in my head like a great bell.
Even Agatha Christie herself reportedly appreciated this adaptation, particularly for how Finney embodied Poirot, despite objecting to his moustache. To sum it up, the film is a feast for the eyes and ears. It might look a bit stagey for modern tastes.
I am a detective, Mademoiselle Lawson.
In the police?
No, private detective. Hercule Poirot?
Very good.
Fast forward to 2010. By then, David Suchet was Poirot to millions, the definitive TV portrayal, faithful down to the tilt of his head and fastidiousness of his moustache. So when ITV adapted Murder on the Orient Express, fans expected a masterpiece. I remember my own anticipation when I was impatiently waiting to see this iconic plot with the perfect David Suchet. Alas, in my opinion, what we got somehow felt quite different. No doubt it's beautifully shot, giving the train a bleak, authentic chill. The cinematography is striking, with heavy shadows and cold blues creating a sense of unease. The supporting cast was solid too: Jessica Chastain, Toby Jones, Hugh Bonneville. However, the adaptation leans hard into religious and moral overtones. The famous ending, where Poirot must decide between legal justice and moral justice, becomes almost crucifixion-like. Suchet plays Poirot as agonized, tormented by the decision, clutching his rosary beads.
You people! Your kangaroo jury! Your kangaroo justice!
Some loved the weightier, more tragic spin. Others found it overbearing, stripping away the elegant charm of Christie's puzzle and replacing it with heavy-handed moralizing. It's Suchet at his most serious, precise and dignified, but perhaps too solemn for some viewers.
Seigneur, je te remercie de m'avoir créé et de m'avoir accueilli dans l'Église catholique.
So while it's faithful in spirit and highly praised by Poirot purists and loyal fans, it lacks some dazzling glamour that may attract the new audience. Deep, atmospheric, admirable, yes. Enjoyable, that depends on your taste for the gloom. By the way, as opposed to Death on the Nile we discussed previously, up until this point I still don't have a favorite. A top-notch masterpiece, in my opinion. A rare case when such geniuses like Suchet and Finney and their respective directors left some room for further explorations. Well, so far only Kenneth Branagh tried his best. The result? Let's have a look.
And then comes along the genius detective.
Me.
Yes, you. Hercule Poirot.
Hercule.
So?
And then in 2017 came Branagh's Murder on the Orient Express. It was his first take on Poirot. Big budget, IMAX cameras, a moustache so large it practically deserved its own billing. Branagh, directing and starring, reimagined the story as a glossy, action-tinged blockbuster. He obviously decided to follow the successful heights of his predecessors and, just like 1974 movie, assembled another starry cast: Judi Dench, Michelle Pfeiffer, Willem Dafoe, Penelope Cruz, and even Johnny Depp as Ratchet. Luckily, the casting and their chemistry is spot on, in my opinion.
Some men have a good look. All they have to do is keep their mouth shut, and they can take home any prize they want. Still, the mouth opens.
For the first test of the waters, Branagh clearly tried to come up with a spectacle. And spectacle it delivered, but at a cost. Entire sequences were rewritten or invented. Poirot chasing suspects like James Bond, melodramatic confrontations in the snow, and of course, Branagh inserting layers of Poirot's tragic backstory, as ever.
Oh, forgive me, mademoiselle, my little originalities. Human nature is perverse in its complexity. To plumb it, it takes the right tools.
The detective is suddenly a tortured soul rather than the detached puzzle solver Christie wrote. Visually, it's undeniably beautiful, sweeping CGI vistas of mountains and trains. But that digital sheen often feels artificial compared to the tactile realism of earlier versions. And while Branagh clearly adores Poirot, his portrayal veers towards self-indulgence, and moustache practically swallowing his performance.
You tell your lies, and you think no one will know. But there are two people who will know. Yes, two people. Your God and Hercule Poirot.
Critics were split. Some enjoyed the energy and style. Others dismissed it as a hollow spectacle with too many liberties taken. For many Christie purists, it felt less like Orient Express and more like Branagh Express. So which train ride should you take? Perhaps, yet again, the 1974 classic remains unbeatable. A glittering, star-studded adaptation that captures Christie's spirit with theatrical flair. Could it be that it was the closest in terms of time distance to the days when Agatha Christie wrote it, and that's why it feels the most appropriate?
A repulsive murderer has himself been repulsively and perhaps deservedly murdered.
Suchet's version earns respect for precision and seriousness, though it may be too bleak for casual viewers. Yet the cinematography looks modern and juicy enough to be considered perfectly plausible for the younger audiences just testing the waters of Agatha Christie universe.
And I think we all need some extra protection sometimes, don't we?
And Branagh? Well, glossy, flashy, occasionally entertaining, but more fan fiction than faithful Christie. Yet the overall cast delivers. This is definitely a soothing point.
I have understood in this case that the scales of justice cannot always be evenly weighed. And I must learn for once to live with the imbalance.
So yeah, there is no perfect movie, yet if you want to get closer to the era when it all happened and feel its magic to the fullest, go with Lumet's original. It's the journey worth taking.
Well, my second husband, Mr. Hubbard, would have raised hell. No place for my makeup bag, no ice in my drinking water, and the hot water burps as it comes out of the faucet.
So what do you think? Do you prefer the old-school grandeur, Suchet's somber depth, or Branagh's fleshy spectacle? Drop your thoughts below. I wish you a very pleasant movie time and see you in my other videos. Bye!